Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the exercise of the month, Conan Fitness. This time we're going to be reviewing box jumps and also step-ups and a few variations of similar nature. We're even going to be touching on some things to do with plyometrics, for those that know what that is. Basically, we're going to be looking at a lot of leg-type exercises that are really good for just heart rate, cardiovascular type workouts, really good for power and speed in the legs, and also for improving jump and things like that for those interested in a little bit more sport-specific nature of jumping and explosive movements. So let's have a look at box jumps and step-ups and variations of that nature. Let's have a look. First, we start with simple step-ups, a simple up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down rhythm. You can do it walking or running, the aim being to get a nice straight leg at the top of the motion. So then we go to side box jumps. You notice that one leg stays on the middle of the box, one leg's always on there, the middle leg. And that is the same pattern of movement as this dynamic step-ups, where the top leg takes all the force and stays on the box, driving from one leg, and that front leg does all the work. Once you master that, go to a higher step, so the leg is doing more work for driving up more potential energy and pretty much aiming to jump off that leg. Next, we look at box jumps. Very simple, standard, basic version first. Jumping up and stepping down. Jumping up, step down. The aim here is the precision and control in the landing. So rather than just stepping straight back, cushion the landing, control it. Once you've mastered that on the low box, go to a higher box or bench and aiming to do the exact same thing, obviously generating more force to jump higher and cushioning the jump, cushioning the landing. Then we go to a harder version, which is opening the hip out, a full hip. We do it by jumping off the step, so it's getting much higher potential energy because you're jumping higher, meaning a lot more work. And noticing that the hip opens out to a full leg at the top is definitely a harder version. This is continuous box jumps, so nice and continuous, aiming to jump down instead of stepping down. And you want to do it as fast as you possibly can. We then move on to plyometrics, which is typically when a muscle is stretched under tension and then forcefully contracts really quickly. Basically when the muscle lengthens under tension and then contracts quickly. But basically, to start with, we don't even worry about the concentric contraction. Here you see a negative contraction. That's where we're stepping off the box and just cushioning the landing. So the muscles have to work quite powerfully just to decelerate the motion, because we're starting from a high position, high potential energy, and as we lower ourselves down, we need to cushion that landing. Once we've mastered that, we go to a higher box, so still furthering the deceleration, the quick deceleration of all of our momentum going to the ground, and the muscles have to cushion that landing, cushion it. Once you get a really strong base at this, all we're then going to do is add in a tiny little jump back on the small box, where all you do is cushion the landing, but you try to jump off the ground quite quickly again. So there's the negative contraction, positive. And again, you'll see that, stepping off, there's the negative and positive. And plyometrics is the fast succession between the stretch of the muscle and the quick contraction. Here we see the exact same thing, higher potential, so a little bit more force required, a bit more power required to change from the deceleration to the acceleration in one quick movement. And again, just mastering that. Then aiming to go for contact time on the floor, as little contact time on the floor as possible. Next, we add height and length to our jump. Still, we focus on the controlled decelerating phase as your body weight comes towards the ground and all that potential energy hits the ground. That's when the force and power is required in the legs. From there, jumping straight up and onto just one of the small boxes. Practice that a few times until you get comfortable with it, and still focusing on small contact time with the floor, meaning the feet are touching the floor for as small a period of time as possible, really generating speed and power in the push-off, in the jump. From there, we're simply going to add further distance by jumping onto successive boxes, by jumping down, up, and it's the two down phases that count the most, because that's when all of the energy is being driven into the floor and you take the most amount of power to explode back up in the change between the eccentric, that's the stretch or loading of the muscle, and the concentric, the firing of it. Practice this until the legs are strong enough to bound effortlessly like springs off the ground. As for a variation, you can try lateral box jumps. These are also progressive, just a bit more functional, a bit more sports specific, dynamic. They're obviously lateral side to side, so a different muscle motion in the push-off, but good for variety. Finally, we put progressive bounds into the mix. This is where you jump straight over the boxes obviously takes a hell of a lot more force and power and acceleration from the muscles perspective. Even working the neurology, even the tendons and nerves, everything in the muscle really has to work to optimum to be able to generate the force required to not only decelerate but then accelerate the motion in very fast, quick succession. This is really training the fast twitch muscle fibers of the body and really good for sport specific and power. One last variation is single leg box jumps, exact same theory and principles as all the others except on one leg, so a hell of a lot more power required. But other than that, that is the basic progressions from simple step-ups to some fairly advanced box jumps and plyometrics, and like I said, the progressions to lead you guys there. So all the best with box jumps. Hope you get a great cardio workout and legs workout. All the best until next time. See you folks.